Okay, I'm going to reveal more truth of heaven and earth to you, and I'm not going to reveal you the whole story of why I came to this conclusion because it's personal. I had a best friend growing up whose name was Paul. He lived across the street from me, and I was the catcher in baseball, and he was the pitcher. I helped support him in many ways, many different ways, where I can see myself as his foundation to ground him, to help him excel and help him become visible and popular, and that's really what it was. And so would consider him the northern side of the octahedron, and me the southern side, me the one who supports, me the one who gives foundation. Foundation, if you read in Job 26 and as well as Job 38, the pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. And Job 38, it talks about the foundations of the earth. The foundations of the earth. I lived at 503 Miller's Road. Paul lived at 502 Miller's Road. He lived on the northern side. I lived on the southern side. We were facing north-south to each other. And so, in that respect, I understood how the pillars of heaven were set up. And if you even look at the Canadian Meteor Orbit Radar imagery of the octahedron, you will notice that there's a separation there of the actual octahedron, northern side and southern side, at the equator. Right? Let's turn the volume off of that. At the equator, you see that gap right there in the middle? Well, that's because, lo and behold, we have pillars of heaven. I found the pillars of heaven. This is the much sought after pillars of earth, pillars of heaven, right at the foundations of the earth, which are up in the center of the earth. Let me go pull up my 3D screen here to show you. Okay, if you've been following me before, you will know and understand that we have the four living creatures, which are symbolic, but they're surrounding the perimeter field area and the center of the earth, center of the heaven. It's in the middle, right? And so we have the sunlight on the right there. You see I created in a northern and southern region extremity of the light, how it would curve like that, around like that, in that onion shape. But anyway, it would return back. So on the left side, you see it returning back toward the center. And so if I go to a side view of that, you'll see that it's that yellow line there. It's tilting negative 23.4 to positive 23.4 in a yearly cycle like that. And so I mentioned before, that's how the figurative four living creatures are blocking this knowledge, the truth. The tree of life is in the center. They're guarding that. It's hidden from you with the bending light and the actual celestial sphere that's darkened like that. I hide, Isaiah 45, covered in darkness, Psalm 102. It's all about that hiding centeredness that no one else knows but me. And that's what compresses and creates a diamond. That's why diamonds are octahedral and crystal habit. You understand? Because there's a compression involved. It compresses the hardest substance on Earth. And that's why that is happening like that. But that light has to get in there because, obviously, it's held up at pillars on the four sides like that. You see the four pillars like that? That's the way that the light gets returned back to the center like that. There's openings like that. And so on the southern region, the southern octahedral region, or the southern pyramidal region, it's just upside down, versus the northern. The northern is what it gets exposed, it gets lit up, illuminated. That's why we have more light. That's why we have more landmass in the northern hemisphere as opposed to the southern hemisphere. But it's the south. It's the south that supports the north, and so that octahedron will descend. Right? I mentioned it before. Did you watch that video? The octahedron will descend. And it will fall where? Where will it fall? It will fall down in Antarctica, the south. The south. That's where it gets its groundedness. You understand? It's going to descend like that down the south. And so, also remember I mentioned how the mysterious octahedral formation of octahedrites, which are metal meteorites, are happening because it's originating from the octahedron. And so when you see metal meteorites with octahedral, they call them Widmanstätten patterns, recognize and realize that they came from the octahedron, most likely the southern side, the foundation side. So those are the pillars of the earth right there. On each four sides, they can be picked up in the oceans at 90 degrees to each other. They can pick that up. They know it's there. It has four equatorial equilibrium points right there in the center of the earth. You understand? That's how it's working, guys. This is like so groundbreaking. This is I just don't think most people are ready to accept or acknowledge this, but this is what's happening. This is why we have the four pillars of heaven, four pillars of the earth. You understand? Four pillars. Let's change the shading here. Okay. And so most likely we have at the dielectric inertial plane, which is the equator, we'll have a crystalline floor, right? It's all making sense, isn't it? It's beautifully making sense, guys. There they are. The pillars of earth, the pillars of heaven.